Welcome to the Bellwether College Consortium Summer Innovation Series. My name is Rose Martinez. I serve as the director of the consortium, a nationally respected and member-supported think tank made up of award-winning colleges. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Chris Vitelli, president of Merced College. He and his Bellwether Award-winning team took top honors in the category of Workforce Development at this year's final round of competition. The program titled Cultivating the Futures, Merced College's Ag Innovation Ecosystem is a multi-county, cross-institutional AgTEC Workforce Initiative that utilizes a collaborative, data-informed model to deliver competency-based education, industry-validated skills, and flexible pathways for incumbent workers. Before I delve into the interview with our esteemed guests, permit me to share a little more about the consortium and the National Bellwether Award competition. The Bellwether Award is presented to a community college program that demonstrates innovation, scalability, replicability, and most importantly, evidence-based and equity-focused outcomes. For those of you who may not be familiar with the consortium, it is charged with addressing critical issues facing community colleges through applied research, and the promotion and replication of best practices. We host the prestigious Bellwether Award competition for public community colleges in the United States and the U.S. territories. We received numerous submissions, and after a stringent first round of competition, 30 highest scoring community colleges, their programs that is, are invited to join the Bellwether College Consortium and compete in the final round of competition. We welcome 10 Bellwether finalists for each of the three categories that we awarded. Those three categories are workforce development, instructional programs and services, and finally planning, governance, and finance. Again, that final round of Bellwether competition occurs in San Antonio at what is called the Community College Futures Assembly. We hold that every February, late February in San Antonio. So with that, you can find more information about the consortium, our final or our national competitions, and the Futures Assembly at bellwethercollegeconsortium.com. So let's begin, and we'll move on to the focus of this program. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Vitelli, president of Merced College, located in California's Central Valley. Again, Chris, congratulations on being named a 2026 Bellwether Award winner. Let's get started with the conversation. So, Dr. Vitelli, the first question I have for you is, of course, sharing more about your college's background there. Its geographic setting, the student makeup, prominent areas of studies, and any pride points that you'd want to share.
Sure. Thank you. And thanks for doing the podcast and highlighting our program and our college. We're certainly very honored to be a national winner of the Bellwether Award and to be recognized in the workforce development category. Merced College is, as you mentioned, in the middle of the state in the Central Valley of California. We often refer to it as the red basket of the world because here in the Central Valley, it is one of the most diverse agricultural regions in the world. And we are responsible for most of the nation's fresh fruits and vegetables that come out throughout the year within the Central Valley. And as such, Merced College's flagship program is indeed our agricultural technology program, which we'll be talking about most of this webinar. But we're also very proud of the work we're doing within this community. We strive to be one of the most innovative. Actually, we strive to be the most innovative community college in the country. And we're making great strides in that regard. We serve a very vulnerable population within the Merced community. We represent a region that is underemployed, that many of our students have experienced life under the poverty line. And most of our students, a majority of our students, are first generation college students. We're a Hispanic serving institution with about 67% of our students identifying as Hispanic students in the Hispanic student population. And we serve close to, at least last year, we served close to 22,000 students here at Merced College. We're a single college district, but we do have a few other campuses throughout the Central Valley. And I think we're most proud of not only our career technical education programs, which we have a variety of industry recognized career technical education programs from our AgTEC program to automotive technology, manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, food and food nutrition programs. Our allied health programs are very popular, but we also have a very robust general education program and 2-year degree and transfer to many of our universities within California and throughout the country. Um, we we experience and allow our students to experience innovation in a way that is really moving the needle on student success, student completion. We're focused on reducing our attrition rates, and we believe that over the last decade, which I've had the pleasure of serving as a president here over the last 10 years, over the last decade, we've adopted many new innovation and innovative initiatives that have really begun to close those gaps for us. And we're really proud about that. Over the last 10 years, we've seen about a 5% increase in course success rates. We've seen an almost 4% increase in course completion rates. Our attrition rates have been lowered by anywhere from 3 to 4 percentage points over the last 10 years, and we hope to continue down that trend. Our transfer rates are up. We went from in the hundreds of students getting their transfer degrees to well over a couple thousand now, 10 years later. So we're making great strides. We're serving a community that needs us the most, like many community colleges are throughout the nation, and looking forward to highlighting our ag tech program as a part of this program.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it looks like you all are doing a wonderful job and hitting all the important majors and career interest of your students there. And so thankfully that you're in the right place, and congratulations on your 10 years tenure there at Merced College.
Thank you.
Let me go ahead and move on into what I guess the meat of the presentation would be, and that's talking about your critical issue. So why did you win the bellwether? And so the focus of this webinar series is really delving into each of the bellwether award winners and focusing on what it is that made them so special, so innovative. What are some great takeaways from this particular program? So we always start with, so what was the issue? Why was it critical? So let's go ahead and start there. So if you can share the critical issue that Merced College felt compelled to address, and any evidence or stories that illustrate why this change was necessary, we'd love to hear that.
Yeah, you bet. As you can see on the screen there, there's an outline of the state of California. That star represents our county. And the counties below Merced County have very similar demographics. I mentioned earlier that we provide more than 25% of the nation's food supply. It's all grown right here in California. And we have recognized over the last couple decades the rapid increase of technology in our lives in general, and particularly this is beginning to become more and more of a challenge in the agricultural industry. We have small family farms and very large corporate farms within the Central Valley, and we have thousands of incumbent farm workers that have been really feeding the world. And we felt that it was incumbent on us to not only respond to the workforce training program to begin to adapt to a high-tech ag industry, but also to assist these incumbent farm workers that have done so much for our country and our world that we needed to upskill them to prepare them for jobs in the 21st century in agriculture. And that really became the critical issue that we sought out to address. And when we look at, I mentioned earlier, our poverty line, when we look at the Central Valley, throughout the entire South San Joaquin Valley, more than 22% live below the poverty line. So we have a tremendous opportunity within the community college system to create career pathways that lead to high wage, high demand jobs and careers. And so, about 6 or 7 years ago, we got together as a collaborative within the Central Valley, Merced College leading the way, our community colleges in the counties that are highlighted on the screen, and the counties of Madera, Fresno, Kings, and Tulare. And we began to have discussions about our agricultural programs, what we can do for the incumbent farm workers, as well as future agriculturalists that were going through ag programs within our high school region. And we decided that collectively we would create a program that sought to address this critical need. And we did it methodically and strategically, and we went after very large sums of state and federal dollars. And we, quite frankly, hit a home run on that. And it was a team effort. We created what you'll learn in just a few minutes to be the beginning of a comprehensive AgTEC workforce initiative. And we did it from the ground up, and we did it the way community colleges should be doing it. We started with industry and we asked them what are the competencies and skills that are needed in 21st century ag as we see production ag and food manufacturing moving to more automation and robotics. And we started to map that out. We had faculty at the table from day one, listening, having dialogue, talking pedagogy, and making sure that we were able to package a program that was going to meet the needs of industry and allow incumbent workers to get raises and promotions and relevant jobs in ag technology, and future agriculturalists the opportunity to be ag technicians. And then we also, because we knew that one of the critical issues was reaching out to farm workers, we knew that that was going to be a tremendous challenge because there were barriers that we needed to hear directly from them on how to address those. And so we did what we believe is the largest farm worker survey in the country. We surveyed incumbent farm workers throughout the Central Valley. We received more than 11,000 respondents, and we began to ask them basic questions about modalities, about skills they were bringing into the program, technology needs, childcare needs, transportation, whether they would want us to come to their job site or they wanted to come to us. If they needed ESL classes, that they preferred for it to be in English and Spanish. Because if we were going to get it right, we wanted to make sure that not only high school graduates and those in the community could step right into the program, but that our incumbent farm workers could step in and have all the resources they needed to be successful. And so that, in a nutshell, is the critical issue. And over the next few minutes, we'll be able to tell you what we packaged and how we did it to make sure that we were meeting their needs.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for sharing about the survey. That's so critical. A lot of folks sometimes forget that the workforce does need to be surveyed to understand what exactly are some of the challenges. We can all think of them, but until you have it on paper and you hear from the source, I think it's critically important that we not lose that big and large step of research. So I applaud you for that, and just the number of individuals involved in that survey is that's tremendous. I hope that continues as well, just to see any changes along the way. Um,
Thank
yeah,
you.
so let's move on. Thank you. Let's talk about the framework. So how did Merced College and its partners, you talked about several of them and looking at the counties that you described there, it's a large area, but how did all those partners and all those counties develop its ag workforce framework? If you can walk us through that, the key components and why they were essential to the program's success.
Yeah, you bet. So when we first started having these discussions, we knew that it was going to take time, resources and funding, industry support, and then really bringing faculty together to meet the needs of our intended students and audiences. And so from the beginning, we made sure all of those partners were at the table discussing how we were going to build a meaningful program that can make a difference in the ag industry, that could prepare workforce ready society graduates and from day one start to make meaningful contributions in the lives of students as well as within the industry. We went after one of the Build Back Better federal grants through the EDA that was under the Biden administration. At the time, it was one of their larger initiatives, and what they wanted to see very much so mirrored with what the Bellwether Award is looking for. They wanted to see us meet the needs of a community that needed it the most. They wanted to see us make a difference in the economy. They wanted to ensure that we were creating pathways for meaningful jobs and that they were high demand, high wage. And so for us, we first went after a demonstration grant and a feasibility study grant through the EDA and the Biden administration. And we received the funds to start bringing these groups together. And we had convenings from Modesto down to Bakersfield with companies like Wonderful and Blue Diamond and Western Growers and so many other Taylor Farms, so many other industry giants in ag and food manufacturing to really hear from them what are those core competencies and skills that needed to be developed in order to provide a relevant program that would lead to higher level roles within ag tech. And that became part of the formula is packaging it in a way that really tested students for competencies and skills. And I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. And then, of course, we decided that Merced College would be the lead, but that it could be much more powerful if we created a program that was meeting the needs of incumbent farm workers and new students up and down the valley without it differentiating between competencies, but more differentiating between the context. We have a very diverse Central Valley of agriculture, and we knew that if we could get to the core competencies with the industries, then our colleges could all build the same exact program. And that way, if we did have incumbent farm workers who were moving up and down the valley for seasonal work, they could have open entry, open exit into any of our programs within the Central Valley. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we wanted this program not only to meet the needs of new students, but we really wanted to empower farm workers. We did not only the surveys of 11,000 plus farm workers, but we did multiple qualitative interviews to really make sure we understood their needs. We understood how the industry was changing in their views and how we can meet them where they're at to get them upskilled. And that became a great formula and framework for us to build out our curricula. We were fortunate then to take all of that information after we completed some economic studies and we hired McKinsey and the Brookings Institute to come in and do a very comprehensive um, agricultural economic development study for us within the Central Valley and a blueprint on what the future jobs would look like in ag tech. Once we had all of that information, we were ready to go to the Biden administration and make it clear that if they were going to bet on a region, if they were going to put all their chips in on a group of community colleges that could truly make a difference, then the Central Valley in California was the way to go. They had made it very clear that they were not planning to give any awardee more than $20 million. But what we did was we brought in some of our four-year partners to say, look, we can create an innovation corridor within the valley with our R1 institutions. We can create a workforce training program with our community colleges, and we can begin to foster industry support by creating an ag tech board for the Central Valley that would begin to drive innovation and meet industry standards. And so we went to them and we asked them for a little more than $20 million. We asked them for $100 million. And we were very pleased when they came back and gave us the largest grant in the country of $67 million, of which 27 million came directly to Merced College that really helped us build out this program for the Workforce Initiative that's now known as AgTEC.
Great. Wow. That's so impressive. So congratulations again on that. I
Thank you.
really, yeah, no doubt that there were so many players and you've mentioned, I'm sure just a few of them. I really wanted to touch upon that idea of creating competencies that would track up and down that multi-county corridor that you mentioned, because as farm workers, they move. They move with crops and they move with seasons. And so
That's right.
such an
Yeah.
important, yeah, no, go ahead.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, that was also the uniqueness of this program. Actually, the next slide will give you a bit of a peek into what we started to develop when it related to the competencies and skills. So if we could switch to the next slide, and essentially we decided that this program had to be different from other programs within the community college system in California. We had very traditional unit-based programs that were defined by the time in the classroom. Most of our higher education framework throughout the country is on the Carnegie Hour and the Carnegie Unit. But we decided to build something different here. We were the first community college in the state of California to create a fully competency-based education program. Uh, since we launched our program, the other community colleges have been taking their programs through, and we have a few more that are beginning to launch this curriculum now. But essentially, what you do with competency-based education is you throw time out the window, and you really meet students where they're at. So, as you can see on the screen, we went to industry and said if we were to build a small certificate and include the competencies that are most important for foundational ag tech systems, then what would that look like? And we brought in the Competency-Based Education Network. They were our facilitators with industry and faculty and students at the table. And eventually we narrowed it down to the competencies that you see on the screen as our foundational certificate program. And students will now come into the program and show mastery of a competency. And they can move through that certificate as quickly as they're able to show mastery. Some students in the industry may come in with a wealth of knowledge in basic safety and general ag systems fundamentals or crop production systems and tool operations, but they may really be lacking competencies in digital literacy and applied technical reading and interpersonal skills and applied technical writing. So competency-based education models allow you to come in and say, I can master these skills from the beginning and have those behind me. And then I can work through the other modules at my own pace. It's a very self-paced module that every learner gets to go at the speed that they can handle. And then when they're ready, they can demonstrate that competency to the instructor in the classroom. And essentially, on your transcripts, then you get instead of grades, you get notice that you have mastered the competencies of the program. And once you've mastered every competency, then you receive the certificate. And for us, we have the lower level certificate. We're building out our associate degree. And our final goal is to have an applied bachelor's degree in ag tech systems that students would have open entry, open exit, all based on competency-based education. No grades, no time, just students showing a mastery of skills and then moving on. And what we like about that is when we talk about how we prepare workforce ready, society ready graduates that meet industry skills and standards, we are making sure that they don't sort of get it or they get 80% of it, but they get 100% of it and they can fully master those competencies. So when we put students in industry jobs, industry is getting someone that has shown and demonstrated that they can master these competencies. And we found that this is a really successful model. We're not the first in the country by any means. There are many states that have embraced this and gone far beyond where we're at. But we're excited to have this type of program within the Central Valley and now starting to scale that throughout the state of California, which I know we'll talk about a bit later.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing the curriculum and all the key competencies, those scores. Yes, it's generally reflective of what most any career-minded person would want to have: digital literacy, interpersonal skills. We hear those things quite often, but to include that in an ag tech curriculum, I think is really important. And then mix in like the essentials, right? Tool operation, industry communication. So yeah, kudos and all that good work in just defining each one of those as a part of this certificate. That seems a really in terms of what we have here, a home run for many of your industries and what their needs are. So let me continue on, and you might have, so excuse me if you already addressed this, but we're going to continue on with addressing the issue. And I really wanted to talk about the organizational and partnership development. You shared some of that, but I mean, that those are a lot of players. How did Merced College leverage its institutional strengths with those of each of its partners? You have many chiefs here, right? So
We
how
do.
were these multiple partners convinced to engage in this long-term commitment? And what was the organizational structure for operationalizing the planning and the decision making? If you can share some of that, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, you bet. And I'll kind of go at a roundabout way as we look at the AgTech buildup of this program and what we created as a unique model, because it started with a vision and then the buy-in became so much greater than we could have ever imagined. Initially, what we heard from industry is that we have to provide a contextualized environment. We have to make sure that if they're showing mastery of these skills, that they're learning on industry technology, industry robotics, the greatest and best of automation tools that are out there, and that it's simulated in a way that when they get into industry, that they have had those experiences and they can start from day one making a contribution in ag tech. And so, while we were building out the curriculum for the AgTech systems certificate, we also decided to package it with a one-of-a-kind AgTech Innovation Center. This is currently being built on this campus right now, and the buildup of this is what I think created a lot of the buy-in. When we were hearing what industry wanted, we decided to create an intersegmental simulated ag tech system certificate program that if you think about the supply chain from a farm to the commercial side of the business, there's so many things that go along that food supply chain that are integrated and intersegmental. And if you only take one of our programs within career technical education, then you really don't get to experience the bigger picture that industry wants our students to experience. And I'll use a nursing program as an example. In a nursing program, we have national industry standards that are easily mapped to competencies. And we want our nurses, when they finish the program, to show mastery in all of those skills. They don't just get clinical experiences, though, when they are going through our nursing program. They're not just working in the hospitals alongside of professionals and being interns and apprentices. They also have simulated activities on our campuses and our labs, and they're learning on some of the same greatest and best technology every single day. So they're getting repetition of exercise in the program. And so in building out the program, we really heard from industry that we needed something similar in ag tech. So as a part of that Build Back Better program, we received $17 million to build an ag tech innovation center here at Merced College. Our goal is to have one of these innovation centers in each of the four counties of the community colleges that have the ag tech systems certificate program. Um, this will be the first demonstration project for the Innovation Center. We currently are working with state legislation to get funding for another one down in Fresno County at Reedley College, one of our partners who has the Ag Tech Systems certificate. But within inside of this Innovation Center, we are going to simulate almost everything they would experience on the food supply chain. If you go to the next slide, we are going to have inside of the Innovation Center a food processing plant for fresh fruits and vegetables, high tech, all of the industry standards when it comes to technology that industry told us we needed. We're going to have a nut processing plant. And for us here in Merced County, We produce 90% of the world's almonds, a great majority of the world's pistachios and walnuts. And so we want to make sure our students are learning on that technology. We're going to have a meats lab that can integrate with our animal science program, a food and nutrition lab, and then we'll have a storefront. And so for the first time ever, the students within our programs are going to be working alongside of each other, from students in crop production out on the field to transportation and logistics, to food and nutrition and those labs and packaging science. We'll have students working on high tech within our AgTEC systems program, working alongside of students in HVAC and cooling, and almost every vocational program that we provide. That will all happen in the AgTech Innovation Center. And that created a lot of buy-in. Industry really loved the idea that we were willing to have skin in the game to mirror the same industry standards that they have within their food systems plants here on our campus on a micro level. And we'll even match all of the food safety standards and OSHA requirements related to food safety within the lab, so students can learn those competencies as well. That will be our AgTech Innovation Center. We'll also be partnering with private industry as a part of this project. We are creating a business incubator on our campus through a public-private partnership. We're partnering with the Reservoir, who is creating business accelerators throughout the country. Their flagship accelerator will be right here on the Merced College campus. It'll be next to our Ag Innovation Center. It'll be across from our farm, and they'll have the ability to bring in companies, ag tech companies all over the world that are building mainly robotics and automation. And our students will be their interns. They'll develop the plots for testing, and they'll be able to work alongside of them as they test out their robotics and automation on our farm. The goal will be to create that innovation corridor, and that's why we have UC Merced, our R1 institution in our backyard. That's one of our partners that's also building out the public research component of this. And our hope is decades from now, we can look back and we'll have created an ag tech innovation corridor and industry cluster, much like the Silicon Valley did for tech 67 years, 70 years ago. As these companies build out in the incubator and the accelerator, they'll have a workforce alongside of them throughout that process. And as they scale, we'll scale with them to meet their needs. And as you can see, once we painted that picture, these are just some of the large corporate and local and regional ag partners who have come alongside of us. They signed up to this without thinking twice, and they're putting skin in the game. John Deere has put in several $1 millions with their investment in the reservoir. So as a Western growers, Blue Diamond has made sure they have executives sitting on our advisory. And then Toro and WiseCon and Netafim have donated some of the best and greatest state-of-the-art technology and water conservation. So we're really seeing some positive momentum. But it was about selling that vision, selling that innovation, and making sure partners knew that we heard them and that their investment in us was an investment in their industry, and that became a big part of the success of the program.
Great. Well, thank you for laying out, those very compelling reasons as to why you'd have so many partners and their interest, and the fact that they'll be a part of the AgTech Innovation Center, this business incubator, and utilizing what is learned there, and then hand in hand with what you're going to have in terms of the workforce that will serve the needs of the innovations that are going to be developed through the center and the incubator, I think are just a wonderful win-win situation there. So, speaking of wins, well, if you can walk us through some of your first financial wins. I know you talked about some big ones already, but how did that foundation help create this more expansive multi-purpose ag center, and what were some of the programmatic decision making? What was that decision making process that helped you be first in line, right, to get some of these larger awards? Can you walk us through what that decision making process was, and how you came to land on some of these grants?
Yeah, I mean, again, it really mirrors Bellwether's criteria, right? We needed to make sure that we showed to those that were willing to invest in our programs, whether it was a federal grant or a state grant or a nonprofit, that we were meeting a critical need that was going to make a difference in the lives of individuals and the economies that we were serving. And this particular economy was ag tech. And that it was going to build out future jobs. And so, over the last few minutes, I've really outlined how we created a vision of innovation, of uniqueness, of meeting a direct critical need. And once we put those components in place and showed the partners that we had at the table, really, I don't want to oversimplify it, but really the funding became very easy for us and the momentum built upon itself. Obviously, the group that gave us the first home run was the EDA grant that we got, the regional grant that we brought in a little over $65 million and 27 million came to Merced College. We didn't let grass grow under our feet. We worked really hard. We demonstrated that we were worth investing in and that we had benchmarks that not only we were going to meet, but we were going to knock it out of the park. And once we started to demonstrate the success of the program, it was really easy to leverage and go out to other funders and say, look, this is how the federal government has invested in this project. This is what our partners are saying. This is the uniqueness of the program with the innovative modalities and the way we've integrated private industry. And this is a project worth putting more money into. And we have used that momentum time and time again. We continue to do so. And we're very fortunate that both the state and federal governments have recognized this as a program that can and is making a difference in the local economy, and that's been our strategy. We'll continue to build upon that. We feel like this is just the beginning, and we hope that in a couple of years we'll have a slide that represents 100 and 200 and 300 million dollars because this isn't a $50 million project. For this to be right, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars that scales up and down the valley in California and really begins to move the needle on ag innovation and technology. And workforce obviously is a huge component of that. We'll continue to engage private industry. We hope to get their attention more these days and their funding. And then, of course, we'll continue to engage our public research institutions to help us go after some of these dollars at the state and federal level.
Thank you for that. Let's move on to the outcomes. And I know you have several that you'd like to share with us. Can you share measurable documented outcomes that are important that were an important criterion to win the Bellwether Award? So yes, Chris has talked about part and parcel. We need to know what the critical issue was when we're deciding upon our top scored submitters to the Bellwether Award competition. So we start with that. Why is this a compelling issue? Not only locally, regionally, nationally. What can people learn from this particular program, this proven program? And then we move on to ask about the development of that, the human and the financial resources that Dr. Vitelli has outlined so well. But of course, where we put the most of our points or a percentage of points when awarding our top scores to Bellwether submitters, it is all about outcomes, right? Is this a proven model that we can share across the nation? That's what Bellwether does. That's what we pride ourselves on. It's like we want the programs to be replicated, whether it's a piece or the entirety of the program. It's important for us because they've somehow cracked the nut, so to speak, on what is working for that community and how it should be more expanded nationally. And so the most important thing we want to talk about today is what were those measurable outcomes. So if you can say more about your program's evidence of success, key assessments, and significant outcomes, we'd love to hear that.
Yeah, you bet. We're proud of the outcomes and the student impact that we've been measuring. These are some of the high levels outcomes that we're focused on. Of course, there's many other metrics as a part of this program, but for us, at a high level, we first and foremost we wanted to make sure that we had student participation in the program. We wanted to make sure that if we built an industry relevant program that not only incumbent workers were enrolling, but new students, and that we saw a demand for the workforce training side. The numbers that you see on the screen there, students enrolled in the Ag Systems program at Merced College now exceed close to 200. And we just launched the program a little over a year and a half ago. And those are students that really represent completing hundreds, right now, more than 700 demonstrated skill mastery. And so that was a huge success in our minds because we had a lot of barriers when it came to incumbent workers and getting them into the program and making sure that we were taking that data to have as wide of a door of open entry as possible. And we were really proud to see those enrollments. We've had over 600 students enrolled in the program throughout the Valley. And again, I think a big success of this program is that it's the exact same curriculum. And so students are going in and out of different programs as needed according to their locality and making sure that they get the opportunity to complete the certificate program. We have had a really high um, access to first-time students. And we knew that that was going to be the case, but we didn't know it was going to be 90% plus. Merced College is about 52% first-time college students, but this program is bringing in 90% of first-time college students, which is a tremendous impact to students. And that's how we're going to change economies by getting those that are working in the fields that are tremendously smart, have amazing skills and competencies. We're going to get them into formal programs with industry recognized certificates so they can get better jobs. And high skilled jobs that are going to lead to longer term careers. And then they, in return, put money back into the local and regional economies. And then the coolest part for us is that not only 90% of them are first-time college students, but 70% of them have indicated to us they want to now continue their education. So they want to continue down the path of getting an associate's degree or bachelor's degree. And I mentioned that we surveyed over 11,000 farm workers. What I didn't mention to you is we put all of that data into Salesforce and we put it into a CRM where we can track and report and follow these students throughout the trajectory of their career pathways with us and beyond. And we can make sure that we're providing what they need in a meaningful way. Every single student has a profile. We know if they're interested in starting with the ESL class. We know if they're going to go through our Ag Tech Systems program, if they also want to go on to get an associate's degree in ag mechanics or welding or HVAC to continue down a specialized path in ag tech. And so we're able to not only meet their needs, but we can track and report where they're at, which is going to be meaningful data for us longer term. And I think we'll see even those percentages go up quite a bit. If you go to the next slide, it speaks a little bit about what our students are doing. I mean, when we look at our workforce programs, we need to make sure that we are getting our students jobs or we're getting incumbent workers the opportunity to advance in their respective jobs and industries. And so one of the big key metrics for us was making sure that not only we had employer partners engaged, but they were staying engaged and helping us validate the curriculum, the design, the competencies, the skills, the applied learning. And so we have over 50 plus partners that continue to engage in our advisories, that continue to help us build out the certificate program, that provide internships, that provide opportunities for jobs in ag tech. That's giving some of our students raises immediately after finishing the program. And that employer engagement was a very important metric for us for this program. Uh, we have also tracked and reported their average their earning wages, and so our students have reported anywhere from $1 to $4 raises after completing just the certificate program. And then 80% of them have reported that within 6 months that they're able to, after completing the certificate program, they're getting a job in the industry if they weren't already in industry. And that's important to us because as we build out this program of competency-based education, many of our students can get jobs, continue to work, and then fit in mastering the competencies as they go. So we think the metrics that we're measuring are probably the ones that mean the most to industry, mean the most to our students. And as a community college, we're really proud of those outcomes.
Yeah, no, those are terrific. And $25 is also what you see in the city. So just having in the rural areas is magnificent. I also wanted to just highlight the fact you have 12 startups, which mean new businesses coming into town or working with those that are existing. So that's important as well. But I love the 80% job placement. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So we're going to go ahead and end with two more questions, but
Okay.
it's always important to talk about lessons learned.
Yeah.
So as an
Yeah.
ag industry aligned college, winning the Bellwether Award, and that doesn't happen often. What did your team learn by preparing for and being a part of the competition, and what does it mean to receive this high honor?
Yeah, I mean, we learned so many things as a part of this program. I think, I think the most salient lessons learned is that when you're building a workforce development program, it's not just important to engage industry. It's not just important to talk to industry, but you have to start with them. You have to make sure that the industry you're engaging with is really giving you direct feedback on the skills and competencies and outcomes that are expected. Because if you can do that, then the long-term efficacy of your program and success is almost guaranteed. And so that's something that as we build new programs, we've always had advisories, but it can't be performative. You have to have an advisory that is really focused on getting to the needs of industry and mapping out what those competencies are. The second lesson we learned is that you design for flexibility from the beginning. So many times we want students to fit into our model in higher education, and this program really flipped the script on that. We started with them and said, what is it that you need? And flexibility was a theme. And so we designed to be flexible with the students' needs in mind. And that was an incredibly important lesson for us. And I think that the proof is in the pudding, if you will, as far as student participation and the outcomes we just shared. For this program, partnerships, industry partnerships in general, and then four-year partners became kind of like a co-ownership of the program, and that was an important part of the foundation of building out the AgTEC system certificate. And I think any program should really build it as not just a community college certificate program, but this is a program that represents industry, our four-year partners, our research partners, and then of course the needs of the workforce training partner in the community college system. The last two lessons learned are start small and phase implementation. You can build out a program, but if you try to go too big, then I think many of the details and nuances will get overlooked. And those details and nuances are important to everyone who's involved. And if you can get them right and build upon that momentum, then the resources will come. That includes money and funding. The partners will stay with you, the students will enroll, and you'll have those outcomes that we shared. And then the last one, of course, is what we just talked about. Measure what matters. If you're measuring what matters, then along the way you can make meaningful adjustments to ensure that your program is a true success. And to answer your question, what does this mean for us? The Bellwether Award to us is the Academy Awards of the community college system. It represents the best of the best in innovation and modeling what we should be doing in workforce training and higher education. And to receive the honor of being a finalist and then the winner of the workforce development category is really, it reflects the hard work and dedication that was put into the program, but it also is affirmation that we're headed in the right direction, that we're doing what matters, and that we're really building a community college that's responsive to industry needs. And it really is an honor to have received this award.
Thank you for that. That was just a wonderful presentation of the work, the hard work, and the continuing work that you're doing at Merced College and with all your amazing partners that are both in the higher ed system and then those obviously that are in industry as well. So just wonderful congratulations for all the work you do. And it's colleges like that that build our name as a Bellwether College Consortium, and having you be a member and obviously be an award winner is just more proof that the colleges that represent Bellwether are just tops, and they're doing incredible work, and it's hard work, but it's work that is important to identify as possible models for replication. So thank you so much, Dr. Vitelli, for your time. I'd like to thank you for sharing your knowledge and your insights with us today. Best wishes for Merced College and its students and its partners for continued success. So thank you so much. I appreciate you being with us today.
Yeah, and right back to you, Dr. Martinez. Thank you for hosting today, but also for leading the consortium and for highlighting programs like Merced College and so many others throughout the nation. We really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Thank you.